Hello everyone, my name is Sandra, and at 35, I work as a sales associate. I share my life with my husband, Peter, a dedicated surgeon. Our paths crossed back in university, where his earnest and industrious character immediately captivated me. Peter, on his part, was drawn to my sincere and compassionate nature. Fast forward 6 years, and our marriage thrives on love, mutual respect, and shared joy, crafting what I believed was an ideal life. Yet, life's unpredictability soon reminded us of its inherent uncertainty. Our journey hit an unexpected bump, throwing me into a state of despondency initially. However, with time, the pieces started to align once more. The day that marked a turning point for us unfolded during a party we hosted, attended by our close friends and Peter's mother. As the evening wound down, I was tidying up in the kitchen when I overheard a conversation that was hard to ignore. A friend of Peter, Daniel, slightly worse for wear from drinking, was making advances on Elizabeth, a neighbor and fellow university alumna, in a conversation that spilled from the porch into my unintentional eavesdropping. The exchange went somewhat like this. "Elizabeth, you look stunning tonight," Daniel slurred, his words a mix of charm and alcohol. "Thanks, Daniel. That's very sweet of you," Elizabeth responded, maintaining her poise. "Got any plans tomorrow evening? How about joining me for a drink?" he proposed, hopeful. "Kind of you to offer, Daniel, but I'm working tomorrow," Elizabeth declined, her voice steady. Undeterred, Daniel pressed, "And the day after? What do you say?" Elizabeth was firm in her response. "I'm sorry, I'm just not interested." Despite Elizabeth's clear disinterest, Daniel persisted, his plea tinged with frustration. "All I'm asking for is a chance to take a beautiful girl like you out. You won't regret it." Elizabeth, however, stood her ground, rejecting his advances with grace. That's when Daniel, frustration peaking and perhaps emboldened by the alcohol, dropped Peter's name into the conversation, implying familiarity would change her stance. Elizabeth, taken aback but quickly regaining her composure, defended Peter, highlighting his loyalty and integrity, only for Daniel to drunkenly insinuate Peter's infidelity. Elizabeth, who had always seen Peter as a paragon of virtue, was understandably upset by the accusation, promptly dismissing Daniel's outlandish claim and advising him to sober up. Not long after, as I was arranging the dishes, Daniel barged into the kitchen, his entrance abrupt. Spotting me, he paused, perhaps realizing I might have caught wind of his indiscreet allegation against Peter during his attempt to woo Elizabeth. Daniel's reaction to being overheard was one of minimal remorse. He seemed almost relieved to have been caught, asserting that everything I had heard was indeed true. He expressed frustration over Peter's perceived invulnerability to criticism or consequences. However, knowing Daniel as Peter's co-worker at the hospital, and having heard both from Peter and his other colleagues about Daniel's envy towards Peter's talents and achievements, I was skeptical of Daniel's claims. It seemed clear to me that his accusations were fueled by jealousy rather than fact. I simply observed him without engagement, continuing with my tasks, as Daniel went on. Shortly after, a commotion arose near the garage between Daniel and Peter. Daniel accused Peter of being undeserving of his successes, to which Peter responded with calm, trying to diffuse the tension peacefully. He suggested Daniel should head home, given his inebriated state, and offered to arrange a ride for him. Daniel rebuffed the offer, labeling his attendance at the party a mistake, and stormed off. I felt a pang of sympathy for Peter. He was undeserving of such hostility. The situation escalated to the point where I had to intervene, ultimately asking Daniel to leave after his behavior became intolerable. Peter later apologized for Daniel's conduct, labeling him difficult at times, and expressing hope that Daniel hadn't been too offensive towards me. I reassured him, though I mentioned Daniel had made Elizabeth feel uneasy. Peter promised to address the issue, suggesting we go to bed given the late hour. Sometime later, my professional life took an unexpected turn when I was let go from my job as part of a company-wide restructuring. This abrupt change shook me, but I persisted in searching for new employment opportunities. Unfortunately, luck didn't seem to be on my side. This period of joblessness began to strain my relationship with Peter. We found ourselves increasingly at odds over minor matters, from my spending a bit extra on home decoration to the frustration of being at home. One day, Peter questioned the necessity of purchasing a new washing machine, suggesting the old one simply needed repairs. I argued for the importance of safety over cost, citing the old machine's noisiness and risk of electric shock. Peter's response was curt, implying that financial concerns were his domain, especially since I was not contributing financially at the moment. This shift in our dynamic was disheartening, illustrating how my short spell of unemployment had significantly altered the balance between us. When I was without a job, even though Peter was doing well financially and we were getting by just fine, I felt belittled. My savings were dwindling and I had cut down on asking Peter for money to almost nothing. I was managing my expenses as best as I could. Inside, I hoped that facing this challenging situation would push me to find a new job quicker, aiming to regain my financial independence like before. One day, I was set to attend a friend's wedding. Another friend had offered me a lift, which I accepted gladly to avoid bothering Peter about the cost of a cab. When I said goodbye to Peter, his indifferent response stung a bit, but I brushed it off, determined not to let it ruin my day. However, my friend was running late, so I ended up waiting in the living room longer than expected, unbeknownst to Peter. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, a woman around our age stood there, looking surprised to see me. She apologized, claiming she had the wrong address. Just then, Peter appeared, his tone marked by annoyance upon seeing me still home. "I'm just running late. My friend should arrive any moment," I explained, puzzled by his reaction. It felt odd, as if he hadn't wanted me there, despite it being our shared home. Peter briefly acknowledged my comment and then stepped outside to speak with the woman. They talked by her car for a few minutes before she drove off. The encounter lingered in my mind long after I left for the wedding. Upon returning from the wedding, I tried to broach the subject casually one evening, inquiring if the woman was a patient of his. Peter's sharp look intimidated me, halting any further questions I might have had. He tersely replied that she was just a friend, avoiding my gaze and focusing on his phone. "I haven't seen her around before, though," I noted, trying to probe a bit more. "Come on, Sandra, you don't need to know about everyone. She's a new hire at the hospital, and I'm just helping her with some work stuff," he responded, ending the conversation there. I didn't press further, though Peter's dismissive and evasive answer did nothing to ease my concerns. It felt as though he was dodging the issue entirely. The incident and his reaction stayed with me, casting a shadow of doubt and leaving me with more questions than answers as time went on. Coming back from an interview, I walked into a scene that left me frozen. Peter, barely clothed, on a video call with another woman. My heart sank as I faced the harsh reality that Peter had been unfaithful. He almost lost his balance in surprise, but quickly regained his composure, while it took me a moment to gather mine. When I did, I confronted him with disbelief and heartache. "What is happening here, Peter? What are you doing?" My voice echoed with shock and betrayal. Peter remained silent, his reaction, or lack thereof, staggering me. "How long has this been going on? Are you involved with her?" I pressed, desperate for answers. His indifference was astounding. After a pause, he admitted to his infidelity with a chilling simplicity. "Yes," he said. And to my further inquiry, he confirmed there were others. I felt as though I'd been electrocuted, reeling from the blow of his words. I couldn't help but wonder where things had gone wrong. Despite the strain our marriage faced after my job loss, I had never stopped loving him. Yet, there he was, void of any remorse, admitting to his betrayal as if it were nothing out of the ordinary. "Since when?" was all I could manage, my voice barely a whisper. Peter's response was dismissive. He claimed not to remember exactly, but indicated it began when our relationship started to falter. He spoke as if his actions were justified, coldly stating he no longer found me attractive. Overwhelmed by pain and anger, I lashed out. "How could you do this, Peter? I thought there was love between us. And now, you openly confess to cheating without a shred of guilt. I can't stay with you any longer. We need to end this marriage," I declared, my voice firm, despite the turmoil inside me. Instead of showing any sign of regret, Peter laughed scornfully, his mockery like salt on an open wound. He taunted me for being jobless, boasting about his wealth and status, and cruelly suggested that I couldn't afford to leave him or fight for a fair settlement. His words were a blow to my sense of self-worth, challenging the independent woman I had always been. It was a moment of deep hurt, but it also ignited a determination within me to prove him wrong and reclaim my life and dignity. Realizing I had inadvertently granted Peter the power to belittle me and view me as nothing more than a dependent spouse, filled me with fury. At that moment, I understood there was no point in trying to reason with him. Overwhelmed by emotion, I hastily packed a few essentials and left our home behind. Venturing out into the night, I was faced with the immediate problem of not knowing where to go. Despite this uncertainty, one thing was clear. I couldn't let Peter's mother remain in the dark about her son's actions. I made my way to her place. Catherine, my mother-in-law, was not only a talented home baker, but also a source of inspiration for me. Her vibrant presence and the lively atmosphere she created belied her age. Her greeting was warm and inviting, but confusion soon replaced her initial surprise when she realized Peter wasn't with me. Upon revealing the reason for my sudden visit and the turmoil in my marriage, Catherine seemed taken aback. She refused to believe her son was capable of such betrayal, suggesting I was mistaken. Her reaction made me question my decision to confide in her, fearing her maternal instincts would naturally align with Peter's defense. As Catherine withdrew to the garden, her silence spoke volumes, leaving me to second-guess my actions and the impact of my revelations. That night, restless thoughts kept me awake, wrestling with the ramifications of my disclosure. Come morning, Catherine's absence added to my anxiety. She didn't respond to my calls, heightening my concern. When we finally crossed paths, my emotions spilled over. I apologized, hinting at a willingness to reconcile with Peter, despite my better judgment. Catherine's response was both unexpected and enlightening. She challenged the notion of allowing a man to control my life and happiness, questioning where I had been all night with a hint of concern and a depth of understanding I hadn't anticipated. Her visit to Peter, seeking to mediate or perhaps confront him, marked a pivotal moment. It revealed a complexity in Catherine's character, a blend of maternal love and a fierce belief in personal dignity and independence. This interaction with Catherine not only provided solace, but also underscored a critical lesson about self-worth and the courage to stand against injustice, regardless of the source. Upon confronting Peter, Catherine was met with his candid admission of happiness with another woman and his plans for a future with her, a future that included travels and a life I was no longer part of. His cruel comparison of me to this new woman, ridiculing my tastes and style, was more than Catherine could bear. Moved to anger by his disrespect, she confronted him directly, a reaction that deeply touched me, knowing the depth of her empathy and solidarity. The following morning, Catherine took decisive action by contacting Anna, our family lawyer, to discuss initiating divorce proceedings on my behalf. This gesture of support, especially coming from someone who had always shown me kindness, reinforced the gravity of the situation and her commitment to standing by me through this ordeal. I was overwhelmed by Catherine's initiative and her apology for Peter's behavior, as though she bore responsibility for his actions. Yet, in her resolve, I saw not failure, but strength and compassion. She assured me that there was no rush to finalize the divorce, emphasizing the importance of taking time to reflect and prepare financially for the steps ahead. Peter's reaction to the news of the impending divorce was one of anger and disbelief, challenging my ability to sustain the legal battle financially. His words were dismissive and hurtful, but I remained resolute, determined to face him in court and reclaim my dignity. In a moment of unexpected support, Catherine intervened during Peter's tirade, sternly reminding him of the pain he had caused and affirming her commitment to support me through the legal process. Her words left Peter speechless, and her declaration that he was no longer her son reflected a break from the past, a decisive stand against his betrayal. This episode cemented my respect and admiration for Catherine. Her courage to confront Peter, to align herself with what was right rather than with familial ties, was remarkable. Her support became a source of strength and comfort as I navigated the aftermath of the revelation, with Catherine ensuring I remained positive and engaged, away from the shadow of despair. Peter's exclusion from his cousin's wedding, a consequence of his actions and Catherine's firm stance, was a stark reminder of the ripple effects of his choices. Despite the discomfort it caused, Catherine reassured me that the responsibility for these outcomes rested solely with Peter, encouraging me to focus on healing and moving forward, free from the burden of his actions. Her unwavering support in this difficult time was a testament to her character and the depth of her compassion, making her not just a mother-in-law but a true ally and friend. Seeking to understand more about the mysterious woman I had seen outside our home, I reached out to Daniel, who provided me with some crucial information. The woman, named Julie, was a resident doctor, and rumors had been circulating among Peter's colleagues about a possible affair between her and Peter. Fortuitously, I came across one of these colleagues who revealed that Peter had been using his laptop to email Julie, as his phone was frequently unreliable. He had neglected to erase these emails from the recycle bin, which later became a pivotal piece of evidence. During the divorce proceedings, Peter resorted to making baseless claims about me. He accused me of being domestically abusive following my job loss and harboring irrational doubts about his fidelity. Moreover, he audaciously claimed I had a borderline personality disorder, suggesting I was incapable of maintaining a normal marital relationship. In my defense, I presented screenshots of the emails between Peter and Julie. Additionally, several of Peter's colleagues came forward to dispute his character portrayal, whereas Peter could only muster vague testimonials from Elizabeth and a handful of friends about his supposed integrity. The jury found Peter's defense unconvincing, ultimately granting me a divorce along with alimony. Catherine was by my side throughout, offering her unwavering support and reminding me that I would emerge from this ordeal stronger. As we left the courtroom, Catherine's words were a balm to my bruised heart. She commended me for refusing to compromise my self-respect and for having the courage to leave a cheater. Her analogy of not letting a biting dog back into the house resonated with me, emphasizing her concern for my well-being over her son's actions. She assured me that if Peter ever attempted to manipulate me into returning or to dodge the alimony payments, I should remind him of his new life with Julie while I focused on loving and respecting myself. I was deeply moved by Catherine's steadfast support, acknowledging that she had been the pillar of strength I needed during this tumultuous time. Her unexpected backing, given her relation to Peter, meant the world to me. I expressed my gratitude, admitting that her support had been indispensable. In her typical fashion, Catherine lightened the moment by tasking me with ordering a raspberry bridal cake and preparing my renowned cottage pie, reminding me of the enduring bond we shared. Her strength, empathy, and unwavering support not only helped me navigate through this difficult chapter, but also reminded me of the power of unconditional love and resilience. Growing up without witnessing a male figure leading and nurturing a family, Peter was my first glimpse into what that could look like. Initially, he embodied the role of a caring and cheerful partner. Yet, as life's unpredictability unfolded, our marriage began to falter, echoing the sentiment that change is an inevitable part of existence. Amidst adversity, the adage of turning lemons into lemonade became my mantra, a reminder to persevere and emerge stronger on the other side. Determined to rebuild my life, I secured a new job, and alongside Catherine, I moved to Seattle. Together, we found and lovingly decorated a beautiful apartment. Despite the wounds left by my divorce, I sought therapy to heal from the ensuing post-traumatic stress, steadfast in my refusal to be defeated. Catherine's unwavering support played a crucial role in this journey. Without her, I might have succumbed to the allure of returning to a harmful environment. My path to recovery led me to meet Roy, a renowned artist and the brother of a colleague who effortlessly began to mend the emotional injuries Peter had inflicted. Roy's kindness, respect, and affection filled the voids of my heart, reigniting my belief in love. Catherine, too, saw something special in him, encouraging me to embrace this new relationship despite my reservations. She believed Roy could show me that not all men are alike, instilling hope that I could find happiness again. Heeding Catherine's advice, I opened my heart to Roy, and it's a decision I've never regretted. Our bond has only grown, leading us to the joyful decision to marry a month from now. Reflecting on this journey, I realize I am truly living my best life, surrounded by love, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings.